the Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0 handgun. Let's do a review on that. Welcome to the Patriot Training YouTube channel. My name is Clay Howell. I'm the owner and head firearms instructor at Patriot Training. The purpose of this video is to review the Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0. A number of years ago, Smith & Wesson brought out the Smith & Wesson M&P series of handgun. And while it was a decent handgun, they quickly realized that some adjustments, some upgrades could be made. So a few years after, they released the Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0. Now, M&P stands for military and police. However, you as a civilian can purchase one of these in most areas. The Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0 features a better trigger than the original M&P, and in my estimation, they made it just a little bit smaller to more closely match a Glock 19, so they made a more user-friendly size to go with this gun so that it would attract a great many more people. You can still get an M&P 2.0 in a duty size, full-size gun. That's fine. You can do that. But this video is on the quote-unquote compact size, the 15+1 magazine capacity. Here is my Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0. It comes with a normal magazine of 15 rounds. You can also put one in the chamber for a total of 16, or as they commonly call it in the gun world, 15+1. You can see that, as always, this gun is unloaded. No bullets, no magazine. When you're talking about the Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0, in my estimation, you've got a good gun that is designed for something in between an everyday carry and a duty gun. Can it pull duty? Yes. Can it be an everyday carry? Well, heck, I've used it as an everyday carry for over 7 years, so the answer is most certainly yes. You can see the dirt from where I train with this, from where I practice with this. You can see that it's not perfect. It's scarred up. It's dirty. It is, a gun that has been well used. It's been drawn hundreds of times. It's been to many, many classes. And one of the things I really like about the Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0 is the trigger. Compared to a standard out-of-the-box Glock trigger, because the Glock is typically the industry standard, the M&P 2.0 trigger is an absolute dream. It feels like a competition-style trigger. It's got a very distinctive reset, and the trigger pull is not very heavy at all. This gun is wonderfully well-balanced, and I find the recoil on it to be about the same as a Glock 19 or similar. Certainly not out of whack. If this one's kicking you around, you need to work on your grip a little bit. The texture on the handle is something to behold. This texture has worn some holes in a number of my shirts that I use as cover garments. And I have some friends that have 2.0s, and they can say the same. It's so aggressively textured, it's not going to slip out of your hand. It feels about like sandpaper. And you can be sure that if you're not careful, you are going to have to replace a garment or two as time goes by, because that texture is so very grippy. Additionally, when I wear the polyester style shirts, as I often do in class, because that's how button-up shirts come, it will tend to cling to that. So my shirt may not go all the way down in a covering type of a situation. I may have to release it from the sandpaper style grip that's on the Smith & Wesson here. Accuracy. This might be the most accurate pistol I own. It's really close. It's a dead heat between this pistol and the SIG P226 that I own. They are both insanely accurate pistols. They hit exactly what you're shooting at. And with this particular pistol, I frequently teach classes where we do the easy, and that is shoot a target 25 yards away. But I have hit steel targets as far away as 200 yards with this pistol. Once you know your holds, it's pretty easy to do. The sighting system is decent. I put some aftermarket sights on it. We'll talk about that in a minute. Plus the trigger is nice and smooth and doesn't have the hardest pull, so you can definitely get the most out of the trigger. Talk about the Smith & Wesson sights. The sights that come with a Smith & Wesson M&P are a step above the sights that might come on a Glock or similar. However, I like night sights, and the ones I had were not. And I'm a huge fan of the XS F8 sights. So I put some on this gun. And you can see there the front sight and the rear sight. And these are glow-in-the-dark sights. And what will happen is this rear sight, that little circle will glow, and that front sight, that will also glow. So even at night, I can just see two glowing circles, one on top of the other, and I know my sights are aligned. Plus, I like a notch and post style sighting system. I find it to be incredibly accurate for pistol shooting. And I will tell you right now, the sighting system on this is great. However, the one drawback to Smith & Wesson as a handgun is it is an absolute pain to put new sights on. Heavy gunsmithing will be required. If you see this part right here, the little notch that goes into the groove that the Smith & Wesson has, you have to file that with a file in order, and then finally hammer that in with a hammer and a punch in order to get that in. Same with the front sight up here, folks. There is no, the ease of the Glock 19 is gone when it comes to putting on aftermarket sights on the Smith & Wesson M&P. That is certainly not the case. Now, the sights that come with it are decent, but if you're like me and you want some really high-quality sights, you're going to pay through the nose to get them put on, or you're going to have to resort to a certain amount of gunsmithing and filing and making sure it's right. So take your time when you do that. Always reach out if you've had any trouble putting them on. Always reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to give you some of my experiences with that so as to help you get those sights on if that's what you choose to do with yours. Capacity on the Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0 is the typical and standard 15+1. It doesn't stand out in a pro. It doesn't stand out in a con. You can get the extended capacity magazines, and they have a little sleeve around them, so it looks like a more uniform hand grip, and those hold 17+1. Size and the weight on this gun is really, really incredible. It's just about perfect for my hand. It feels like a good compact carry gun. And, I would not feel underarmed if this was also a duty gun for me as well. Let's talk about reliability. Obviously, Glock is the standard bearer. They are the industry standard when it comes to reliability. However, in recent years, the Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0 has outshone even the Glock in reliability contests, winning multiple reliability contests over the Glock. And now, folks, that's saying something. This gun is so well manufactured, such a tough device, that it can actually beat a Glock when it comes to reliability. I've never had any malfunctions with it that were not ammunition related. And you know what? If you bought one, you wouldn't either. Well, folks, that pretty much summarizes my thoughts on the Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0. Do you have any additional thoughts? Put them down in the comments section below. Is there a video you'd like to see? Again, leave me a comment. I'd like to urge you to hit like, subscribe, and click that notification bell so that you can be notified when the next Patriot Training video is released. And as always, I must remind you that you don't have to be a patriot to train, but you do have to train if you want to be a patriot. Take care.